Guys, in this video we're going to carry on with my Nitro 4-stroke RC crawler conversion. So if you're not sure what's going on here, I'm going to put a link up here to the playlist where you can see where this project started. But cutting a long story short, I've got a 4-stroke model glow engine here. Look at that, we've got a little cam belt there, fan. So it's quite a realistic little engine, and I'm trying to fit it into this crawler here. There we go, hard body crawler. It's a 1/10 scale, but it is fairly big. Do you have a job you hate? Imagine if you could make more money from the comfort of your own home. That was my dream, and it became a reality once I started selling on eBay. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars by selling on eBay, and I've now taught hundreds of people my secrets. So just check out the results here from some of my students. So if you're sick of that 9 till 5 and you want to make more money than a doctor from the comfort of your own home, then click on the link down below and I'll show you how. So in the last video, I got as far as just sort of plonking the engine where it's going to go, sort of bending the chassis out a little bit, making space for it. And then I purchased this gearbox here from a Revo 3.3. I want to couple this gearbox with this gearbox because I see a couple of other YouTubers, they use this transmission and then put the drive shafts directly onto this transmission here to then drive the axles, which is good. But I want to be able to crawl this, sort of have it really, really low geared so I can really actually crawl it properly. So what I want to do is couple this transmission here into the stock transmission. This one here is a 2-speed auto. The transmission in here already is going to further reduce the gear ratio. This one here is a 2-speed transmission also, but on this one we can control the high and the low on the switch on the transmitter. So this one's a manual gearbox. So coupling the two together, hopefully we can get it so we have some really low gearing for some really good crawling, but then we can drop it into second gear and get some sort of half decent speed out of it. So I'm not really sure how it's all going to mount. So to start off with, I'm just going to take these two braces out here, plonk it all in, see how it all lines up, and then we're going to have to figure out a way of mounting the engine. I'm probably going to have to get some piece of aluminium to bolt to the engine that I can bolt to the engine and to this transmission. And then I also need to make something so I can couple the transmission here into the other transmission here. So I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I'm just making this up as I'm going along. Anyway, less waffle, less procrastination, and more wrenching. So that looks like it actually lines up pretty good. So I think the next step we need to do now is we need to find a way of coupling this transmission here to this transmission here. And for that I need a lathe. So I think I'm going to ask Stempy, because Stempy's got a lathe. We're going to make something, and then hopefully it's all going to be coupled up. And then we can work on making the gearbox mount and the engine mount. The only thing is, how it's sitting, the engine is sitting slightly high. And with the engine sitting at this height, the body is sitting just a little bit too high. So we may have to give it a body lift. The trouble is, if I lower the engine all the way down so this body fits on, then this engine is actually sitting on top of the axle here. So when we push it down, there's actually no suspension movement. So I think that could work out pretty perfectly. Have the engine slightly higher, lift the body up, everything's going to line up, and hopefully, guys, it's going to be pretty good. So here we've got an old brushless motor, and I can use this end piece here as part of my motor coupling solution. So next I'm going to bang this middle shaft out of this motor here. So I've just cut the end of the shaft off of the motor. So now I can slide this into my motor end plate. Alright, it's another day, and I've actually come out with a different idea. So I was looking at this transmission and thinking about making something on Stempy's lathe. But anyway, this has got a couple of pins in it, so I would have to make something where the pins can go into. So it's not too bad, but it's doable. But then I thought, why can't I just use this UJ that's already on there? I've got another UJ here. If I can just fit that UJ onto there, and then I'm sort of more flexible of like anglage. Because if I make this a solid piece, it has to go in line. And that's going to make the engine sit a little bit too high than what I really want it to. So you have to raise the body too much. But if I have this on a UJ, that means I could angle it down slightly, get the engine sitting lower in the chassis. I could have it a little bit left or right. It doesn't have to be perfectly in line. And to make the UJ fit onto here, I have a piece of tube here. kindly donated from A-Test Steve. So if I slide that over there, that UJ is almost going to fit with a little bit of filing. That went a lot easier than I thought. Oh, look at that. Britain's engineering at its finest. So the idea with this is so that there's two bearings just to support that shaft a bit better. Because before with just the one bearing, it was kind of a little bit floppy. Alright, there we are. We are on. Now it's not perfect, and if we move it, look, you can see that this isn't on that shaft perfectly square. So I think I'm going to run with it like this just to see if it works. Then if it works, I could always make a new shaft on a lathe and make like this side here a larger diameter, put a proper little flat spot on it, make it all nice and perfect, make the shaft a little bit longer so that this gear perfectly lines up with that. This is just a little test, see if it works. If it works, we can always improve it. So next I've got to make a plate to mount the transmission and the engine to. So I'm going to start off with a piece of cardboard. Just kind of cut a few bits out, try and get it all to fit together, and then I'm going to transfer all of this onto a piece of metal and cut it out. So next I can transfer it onto the steel. So next I've got to put a fold here and here because it's going to make the whole thing a lot more rigid. So anyway, I've clamped it in between two pieces of wood. So now I'm going to try and wallop it over. Hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, then... Not perfect, but considering, not too bad. That'll do. Alright, so I've actually had to cut away a lot more than what I first thought because I wanted to mount the gearbox a lot lower than how it originally was. Reason being is because when we put the engine on there, the transmission was so high that it was too far away from the mesh. And I wanted to keep the engine as central as possible so that it fits between these towers perfectly. So I've had to notch a little piece out of here, cut the front piece off. Anyway, next I need to make a couple of holes in here and then we can mount the engine. So there we go, just made the engine mounts, made them slotted so we can adjust the gear mesh. Also, I'll need to find some spacers to put underneath the transmission. But for now, we're looking pretty good. So there we go, got it kind of temporarily just sort of mocked up, bolted on there for now. So there you go, there's the clutch turning the spur gear. So by having that universal joint there, look, we can now play about with the different engine heights just so we can get it to sit perfectly. So if we was to have it level, look how high that engine sits. That is way too high to get the body on. But by being able just to drop it down slightly... Oh, yes guys, this is going to work. Look at that, there's a little engine sitting there. And I know that's going to have to be a little bit higher to give a little bit of axle clearance. So we're going to have to still lift the body slightly. But not by too much. Guys, this project's going to be epic, man. We're going to have 2-speed transmission auto. We're going to have forward and reverse. And then we're going to go into a transfer box which has high and low gear. So hopefully this is going to crawl really, really well and then put it into second gear and it's going to go a bit fast. So all in all, if you combine the two transmissions, we've got 4 gears, 2 automatic gears and 2 manual gears. So in the next video, we're going to mount this plate here to the chassis. So we've probably got to make a couple of little supports here and here just to kind of hold it all into place. And then I've got to make some sort of a throttle linkage so we can get the throttle and the brakes because we've got a disc brake here, look. I need to mount the servo for the reverse. So if that all goes to plan, maybe we're going to get it running in the next video. Maybe.